Your mind is the most powerful tool you will ever own. It is the command center of your entire life, shaping your thoughts, your emotions, and ultimately your reality. Every action you take, every decision you make, and every result you achieve starts in your mind. But here's the thing, your mind is just like an operating system. And just like any system, it can either be outdated and filled with limitations, or it can be upgraded, fine-tuned, and optimized for peak performance. The problem most people face is that they are running on outdated programming. They are using belief systems they inherited from childhood, from society, from past failures, from people who doubted them, and from experiences that left a scar on their subconscious. And without even realizing it, they continue to operate under these limiting beliefs, allowing negativity, fear, doubt, and worry to control them. Think about it. When you get a brand new phone, it comes with the latest software. It's fast, efficient, and responsive. But over time, as new updates roll out and you ignore them, the phone starts lagging. It slows down, apps crash, and suddenly a device that once worked perfectly now frustrates you. Your mind works the same way. And if you don't upgrade it, if you don't install new empowering beliefs, if you don't remove the old outdated thoughts that no longer serve you, then you will continue to experience life in the same way you always have. You will keep reacting the same way to negative emotions. You will keep doubting yourself. You will keep replaying old fears. You will keep feeling stuck. But that's not because you're incapable. It's because you're operating on a system that was never designed to help you thrive. It was designed to help you survive. The problem with most people is they don't realize they have the power to rewrite the script. They think that because they have always thought a certain way, they must continue thinking that way. They assume that the negativity, the fear, the doubt, the sadness, and the frustration are just part of who they are. But that is the biggest lie you could ever believe. You are not your negative thoughts. You are not your past mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not the opinions of others. You are simply a person operating under a belief system that can be rewritten at any moment. The question is, are you willing to install the upgrade? Are you willing to take control of the thoughts that run your mind? Are you willing to let go of the beliefs that have held you back and step into a new version of yourself? Because that's exactly what needs to happen if you're going to transform in 2025. Think about this. Every single thought you have ever entertained has shaped your reality in some way. If you constantly think thoughts of doubt, you will find yourself hesitating, procrastinating, and never taking action. If you constantly think about the worst case scenario, you will always be filled with fear and anxiety, waiting for something to go wrong. If you believe deep down that you are not worthy of success, you will subconsciously sabotage yourself every time you get close to winning. But the same is true in reverse. When you start filling your mind with powerful thoughts, thoughts of strength, abundance, confidence, and resilience, everything around you begins to shift. You start making better decisions. You start attracting better opportunities. You start handling negative emotions in a completely different way. You start becoming a version of yourself that no longer tolerates negativity, self-doubt, or fear. Upgrading your mind is not a one-time event. It is a daily process. Just like you wouldn't expect a computer to stay virus-free without regular updates, you cannot expect your mind to stay powerful if you don't actively work on it every single day. You must become the gatekeeper of your thoughts, filtering out anything that does not serve you. You must take control of the information you consume, the conversations you have, the people you surround yourself with, and the beliefs you reinforce. If you want to shift your reality, you must first shift the way you think. Your mind is programmable, and that means you get to decide what kind of software you run on. If you have spent years operating on fear, doubt, and negativity, it's time to uninstall those programs and replace them with something better. It's time to condition your mind for success. It's time to think thoughts that empower you, that fuel your confidence, that push you forward instead of holding you back. Because when you master your mind, you master your life. And when you upgrade your operating system, nothing can stop you. Negative feelings have a way of creeping into your mind, controlling your actions, and shaping your reality before you even realize it. They come in different forms: fear, doubt, anger, frustration, sadness, anxiety, resentment. But no matter how they show up, they have one goal: to keep you stuck. Most people allow these emotions to dictate their lives because they have never been taught how to separate themselves from their feelings. They assume that because they feel something, it must be real. But the truth is, feelings are temporary. They are reactions to the thoughts you think and the beliefs you hold. And they only have power over you if you allow them to. The problem is most people have spent their entire lives believing that their emotions define them. They say things like, I am an anxious person, or I just have a bad temper, or I've always been this way. But that's not the truth. You are not your emotions. You are the person who experiences them, but you are also the person who has the power to control them. Imagine you are sitting in your car and suddenly a storm rolls in. Rain pours down, the wind howls, and the sky darkens. At that moment, you have two choices. You can panic, let fear take over, and assume you're never getting out of the storm, or you can remind yourself that storms don't last forever. You can stay calm, keep driving, and before you know it, you're on the other side where the sky is clear again. Your emotions are just like that storm. They may feel overwhelming, intense, and uncontrollable in the moment, but if you remind yourself that they are temporary, you take away their power. The problem is most people don't realize they can just keep driving. They get stuck in the storm, believing it will last forever. They allow a moment of fear to turn into a lifetime of doubt. They let a single failure define them. They take one negative thought and replay it so many times that it becomes their identity. And as a result, they live in a constant cycle of reacting to their emotions instead of mastering them. The first step to taking control of your emotions is understanding that they are nothing more than signals. They are feedback from your subconscious mind, letting you know what you are focusing on. If you feel fear, it's because you are focusing on a potential failure instead of a potential victory. If you feel anger, it's because you believe something unfair has happened. If you feel sadness, it's because you are focusing on a loss instead of an opportunity. Your emotions are not random. They are tied directly to your thoughts. And if you can control your thoughts, you can control how you feel. Most people try to fix their emotions at the surface level. They distract themselves, suppress their feelings, or try to avoid them altogether. But that doesn't work because emotions don't disappear until the thoughts behind them change. If you want to stop feeling negative emotions, you have to stop thinking negative thoughts. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that they have no choice but to feel the way they do. They say things like, I can't help it, I just feel this way, as if their emotions are controlling them instead of the other way around. But that is not true. You always have a choice. You always have the ability to reframe your thoughts, shift your focus, and create a different emotional experience. When a negative emotion arises, instead of immediately reacting to it, pause and ask yourself, what thought created this feeling? If you are feeling fear, is it because you are imagining a worst case scenario that hasn't even happened? If you are feeling anger, is it because you are focusing on something outside of your control? If you are feeling doubt, is it because you are replaying past failures instead of visualizing future success? When you start analyzing your emotions instead of reacting to them, you take back control. Most people think they need to wait until they feel better before they can take action, but that's not how it works. Waiting for your emotions to change before you do something is like waiting for a fire to start before you add wood. If you want to shift how you feel, you have to shift what you do. If you are feeling low energy and unmotivated, instead of waiting for inspiration to strike, get up and move, change your posture, speak with confidence, take an action that aligns with the person you want to become. Your emotions will follow your actions. If you are feeling fearful, instead of allowing the fear to stop you, take a small step forward. The moment you take action, fear starts to lose its grip on you. If you are feeling doubt, instead of dwelling on what could go wrong, remind yourself of the times you have succeeded before. The more you reinforce empowering thoughts, the weaker your negative emotions become. Mastering your emotions is not about never feeling negative. It's about learning to navigate those feelings in a way that doesn't hold you back. It's about recognizing that emotions are just temporary experiences, not permanent identities. It's about shifting your perspective from being controlled by your emotions to being in control of them. Because the truth is, you are not your feelings. You are the master of them. And the moment you realize that, everything changes. Your subconscious mind is the most powerful force in your life. It is working 24/7, shaping your reality, determining your decisions, and influencing your emotions without you even realizing it. The beliefs you hold, the way you react to challenges, and the way you see yourself, all of it is a direct result of the programming embedded deep in your subconscious mind. Most people go through life completely unaware of this, believing that their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are simply who they are. They assume that their habits, reactions, and patterns are fixed, unchangeable parts of their identity. But that is not the truth. The truth is, your subconscious mind has been programmed over years by your upbringing, by society, by your past experiences, by what you've been told, and by what you've repeatedly thought. And just like a computer program, it can be rewritten. The problem is most people never take the time to examine the programming they are running on. They don't question why they think the way they do. They don't ask themselves if the belief they hold are actually serving them. Instead, they continue living on autopilot, repeating the same patterns, struggling with the same emotions, and facing the same obstacles year after year. They don't realize that every limitation they face is a direct reflection of the subconscious beliefs they have accepted as truth. If you believe deep down that success is difficult, you will subconsciously sabotage opportunities that could bring you success. If you believe that you are not worthy of happiness, you will find ways to keep yourself stuck in situations that make you unhappy. If you believe that overcoming negative feelings is impossible, you will remain trapped in them, convinced that you have no control. But none of these beliefs are facts. They are simply programs running in your subconscious mind. And they can't be rewritten. The first step to reprogramming your subconscious mind is awareness. You must become conscious of the beliefs that have been running your life. Every time you experience a negative emotion, stop and ask yourself, what belief is causing this? If you feel fear, is it because you were taught to see failure as something to avoid rather than a stepping stone to success? If you feel self-doubt, is it because someone in your past made you believe you weren't good enough? If you feel like giving up, is it because you were conditioned to believe that struggle means you are not capable? You have to examine these thoughts and trace them back to their roots. Because once you identify the belief that is driving your emotions, you gain the power to change it. Reprogramming your subconscious mind is not about forcing yourself to think positively for a few minutes and expecting everything to change overnight. It is a process that requires repetition, consistency, and deep emotional engagement. Your subconscious does not respond to weak, half-hearted affirmations. It responds to what you repeatedly tell it with full conviction. That is why people who constantly reinforce negative thoughts end up trapped in negativity. It's not because they want to be negative, but because their subconscious has been conditioned to expect negativity as normal. The only way to break free is to consciously feed your mind new beliefs over and over until they become the new default. One of the most powerful ways to do this is through visualization. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between a real experience and one that is vividly imagined. That means if you repeatedly visualize yourself as confident, powerful, and in control of your emotions, your subconscious will begin to accept that as your new reality. When you wake up in the morning before your mind has a chance to drift into old patterns, take a few minutes to close your eyes and see yourself operating at your highest level. Feel what it would feel like to move through life with unshakable confidence. Picture yourself handling challenges with ease, responding to setbacks with resilience, and overcoming negative emotions effortlessly. The more you do this, the more your subconscious mind will start to accept it as true. Another powerful tool is affirmations, but not just any affirmations, affirmations that are spoken with conviction and backed by emotion. Saying, I am confident in a weak, doubtful voice will do nothing. But stand in front of the mirror, looking yourself in the eye and saying, I am powerful. I am in control of my emotions. I decide how I feel. Nothing can break me. With full belief, that is when your subconscious starts to listen. The key is to say it as if it is already true. Your subconscious mind does not respond to future statements like one day I will be confident. It responds to present tense statements. It responds to certainty. It responds to repetition. Your environment also plays a critical role in your subconscious programming. If you're surrounded by negativity, negative people, negative news, negative conversations, your subconscious will absorb that negativity and reflect it back into your life. That is why you must be intentional about what you expose your mind to. Fill your mind with empowering content. Listen to speakers who inspire you. Read books that reinforce the beliefs you want to adopt. Spend time with people who uplift you and challenge you to think bigger. The more you immerse yourself in an environment that aligns with the person you want to become, the faster your subconscious mind will adapt. The final and most important part of reprogramming your subconscious is action. You cannot just think differently, you must act differently. If you want to believe you are confident, start behaving as a confident person would. If you want to believe you are strong, start making choices that reinforce that strength. Your actions send the strongest messages to your subconscious. When you push past fear, when you take control of your emotions, when you refuse to be defined by negativity, your subconscious takes notes. It begins to shift. It begins to believe the new story you are telling it. And when your subconscious belief system changes, your entire life follows. Doubt is one of the most paralyzing forces in life. It creeps into your mind, making you question your abilities, your worth, and your potential. It tells you that you're not ready, that you're not good enough, that you will fail. And the longer you sit in doubt, the more it grows. It spreads like a virus, infecting every thought, every decision, every action, or lack of action. Most people allow doubt to dictate their lives. They overthink, they hesitate, and they convince themselves that they need more time, more knowledge, more resources before they can take action. But the truth is, doubt only exists in the absence of action. The moment you take action, it loses its power. Think about the last time you doubted yourself. Maybe you were about to speak up in a meeting, but you questioned whether your idea was good enough, so you stay quiet. Maybe you wanted to start a new business, but you convinced yourself that you didn't have enough experience, so you never got started. Maybe you wanted to step out of your comfort zone, but fear of failure made you hesitate, and that hesitation turned into inaction. In every one of those moments, doubt won because you didn't move. But what if, instead of hesitating, you had just acted? What if you had spoken up, started the business, taken the step, and ignored the voice of doubt? What if you had realized that doubt is just an illusion? A mental roadblock that only exists when you allow it to. Most people believe that they need confidence before they can take action. They think they need to feel ready before they can move. But that's backward thinking. Confidence does not come before action. It comes from action. You don't wake up one day suddenly feeling confident in something you've never done before. Confidence is built through experience, through stepping into the unknown, through taking risks, even when you're afraid. The people you admire, the people who seem fearless, the people who succeed at the highest level, they didn't start out that way. They started with doubt just like you. The only difference is they moved despite it. They understood that doubt is only as powerful as you allow it to be. When you take action, something shifts inside of you. The fear that once seemed overwhelming starts to fade. The doubt that once held you back starts to weaken. You begin to realize that most of the limitations you believed in were never real. They were just mental barriers you created. You start to see that every time you take a step forward, no matter how small, you gain momentum. And momentum is the enemy of doubt. When you are moving, when you are taking action, when you are making progress, doubt has no place to exist. It cannot survive in a mind that is focused on movement, on execution, on results. The biggest mistake people make is waiting for the perfect moment. They tell themselves, I'll start when I feel more confident, or I'll take action when the time is right, but that time never comes. Waiting only strengthens doubt. The longer you wait, the more reasons you will find to stay exactly where you are. And before you know it, months pass, years pass, and you're still stuck in the same place, still battling the same fears, still allowing doubt to run your life. But what if instead of waiting, you just decided to move? What if you stopped thinking so much and just did? Action does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be flawless. It just has to be movement. The moment you move, you shift your energy, you shift your mindset, you shift your reality. You prove to yourself that you are capable. You prove to yourself that you are in control. And the more you take action, the more you reinforce a new identity, an identity of someone who does not let doubt win, someone who does not let fear dictate their life, someone who takes control and creates their own success. You have to train yourself to act before doubt has a chance to grow. The second you feel hesitation creeping in, move. Make the decision, take the steps, speak up, do the thing that scares you before your mind talks you out of it. Because the moment you take action, you take back your power. The moment you move, doubt begins to fade. And the more you repeat this process, the more you condition yourself to be unstoppable. You start to realize that fear is not a wall, it's a doorway. And the only way to overcome it is to walk through it. Most people underestimate the power of small actions. They think that if they can't take massive action right away, it's not worth doing. But that is another lie doubt tells you. Every step you take, no matter how small, is progress. Every time you act in the face of fear, you weaken doubt's grip on you. Every time you move forward, you build a new belief system, one that tells you that you are strong, capable, and in control of your destiny. And once you build that belief system, nothing can stop you. The people who succeed in life are not the ones who never feel doubt. They are the ones who refuse to let it stop them. They are the ones who understand that action is the cure. They are the ones who know that waiting will never make them ready, but movement. They are the ones who step forward, even when they are scared. Even when they are unsure, even when their mind tries to hold them back. And every time they do, they become stronger. Every time they act, they build momentum. Every time they push through doubt, they get closer to the version of themselves they were meant to be. Growth is not something that happens by accident. It is not something that just shows up in your life one day without effort, without intention, without discipline. Growth is a choice. It is something you must pursue, something you must commit to, something you must fight for every single day. Most people want to grow. They want to become better. They want to improve their mindset, their confidence, their emotional strength. But wanting growth is not enough. Hoping for growth is not enough. You do not grow simply because time passes. You grow because you decide to. You grow because you put yourself in environments that challenge you, because you push yourself past your limits, because you refuse to stay comfortable. Comfort is the enemy of growth. It is the place where dreams die, where potential is wasted, where people settle for far less than they are capable of. Most people spend their lives running toward comfort, seeking it in every way possible. They avoid challenges because they don't want to struggle. They avoid risk because they don't want to fail. They avoid change because they don't want to feel uncertain. And because of this, they remain exactly where they are, year after year, repeating the same patterns, struggling with the same problems, feeling the same frustration with themselves. They wonder why their life isn't changing, why they are not improving, why they feel stuck. But the answer is simple. They have chosen comfort over growth. Real growth only happens when you step into discomfort. It happens when you put yourself in situations that force you to level up. It happens when you challenge yourself to do things you've never done before, to face fears you've been avoiding, to embrace struggles instead of running from them. Growth requires pressure. It requires resistance. It requires struggle. Just like a muscle only grows when it is pushed beyond its limits, your mind, your confidence, your emotional strength only grow when they are tested. The problem is most people see struggle as a sign that something is wrong. They see fear as a sign to stop. They see challenges as obstacles instead of opportunities. And because of this, they never allow themselves to fully step into their potential. The people who grow the most, the people who become the strongest, the most successful, the most unshakable, these are the people who embrace discomfort. They understand that every challenge is a gift, that every struggle is shaping them, that every obstacle is an opportunity to become stronger. They do not run from fear, they run toward it. They do not avoid failure, they seek it, because they know that failure is proof that they are pushing their limit. They do not resist change, they welcome it because they know that change is the gateway to transformation. If you want to grow, you must rewire the way you think about discomfort. You must stop seeing struggle as something to avoid and start seeing it as something to embrace. Every time you feel fear, every time you feel resistance, every time you feel the urge to stay in your comfort zone, that is a sign that you are at the edge of growth. That is the moment where you must make a decision. Will you stay where you are, or will you step forward? Will you choose comfort, or will you choose expansion? Will you allow fear to keep you small, or will you push through it and become stronger? Growth is not something that happens in one big moment. It is something that happens in the small daily choices you make. It happens when you choose to push yourself just a little further than you did yesterday. It happens when you decide to have that difficult conversation instead of avoiding it. It happens when you wake up early to work on your goals instead of hitting snooze. It happens when you take responsibility for your emotions instead of blaming your circumstances. It happens when you do the things you don't feel like doing because you know they will make you better. Most people think growth is about motivation. They believe that if they just feel inspired enough, they will change. But motivation is temporary. It comes and goes. If you rely on motivation, you will always be inconsistent. True growth is about discipline. It is about committing to the process, even on the days when you don't feel like it. It is about showing up day after day, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, even when no one is watching. The most successful people in the world are not the ones who feel motivated all the time. They are the ones who have built the discipline to act no matter how they feel. The moment you commit to growth, your entire life will begin to change. You will start to see challenges differently. You will start to see discomfort as a necessary part of the process. You will stop waiting for the right time and start taking action now. You will stop letting fear control you and start using it as fuel, because the truth is, the version of you that you are meant to become is on the other side of discomfort. The confidence you want, the strength you want, the success you want, it is all waiting for you. But you will never reach it if you stay where you are. You must step forward. You must choose growth. You must decide that you will not settle for anything less than your full potential.